Did you see Requiem? We are back with some Genesis Elves. We're on the draw here. I think this is maybe okay. Yeah, I think this is okay. Vizier is not ideal, but we can plan to play that later. We have Chord for whatever it is that we need. This is fine for a general Elf start. We just may need a little help with our draws. I'm going to assume our opponent's on Titan Shift based on the sideways Stomping Ground. No, we didn't really need to draw that extra land there, but such is life. I think we definitely want to take the opportunity to thin. We have access to white and black mana, so we're just going to go get a forest. And then throw out the old Steady Mystic. So I'm waiting for a Sakura Tribe Elder here. Maybe they're trying to decide if they want to bolt the Mystic or cast a Sakura Tribe Elder. Life from the Loam. So maybe we got Dredge going on. That's interesting. This makes me more likely to want to get that Vizier down earlier. Ooh, yeah, more. That's what I'm talking about. So in this case, since I actually don't think I want to throw the Vizier. If we go Heritage Druid, yeah, we can't. If we play the Vizier, we actually can Chord for Devoted Druid on our opponent's next end step. Again, that doesn't do us a whole lot as of yet. So yeah, okay, our opponent's definitely a Dredge then. Just was curious, we hadn't seen any black mana. I guess they're mostly red mana and green. They're not typically hard casting Bloodghasts. So if we can peel a Devoted Druid, we can win next turn. Not this turn, because the Devoted Druid won't be able to untap. Shaman is fine. The question is, do we want to cast... I think we're just going to attack with the Vizier here. Bloodghast cannot block. We can also Chord for Azuri. If we Chord for Azuri, on our opponent's end step, we're going to have Azuri with 4/5 mana, and that's going to be 9, 10, 11, no, he doesn't give, so it would be actually 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. That's not going to be good enough. Though it could protect against the, that's the old red card, Conflagrate. It would protect against Conflagrate the following turn. I don't think our opponent can really effectively Conflagrate us this turn. The only other land we saw was Dakmor Salvage. So unless they dredge a Conflagrate or cast a Conflagrate for 0, and that's sorcery speed, so they couldn't do that anyway. So I think we're actually just going to hold here. We're not going to do any attacking. We're just going to plan to chord for Azuri on our opponent's end step. So they're actually going to hardcast Conflagrate for 1. So we'll just go ahead and chord here. For 3, if we drop Shaman, it's going to drop 3 damage. Plus 1, 2, 3, 9. I'm just curious if it might be a wiser play to get Shaman. So if we get Shaman of the pack here, we drain our opponent for 3. This would die. Then we would be able to attack for 6 more. Plus we'd be able to play a Shaman the next turn, which would drain for 3 more. But that next Conflagrate would be brutal. As it is, the Azuri is going to be pretty brutal. And we're just going to go with Azuri here. So we'll kind of force our opponent's next turn to fire at the Azuri, but we should be able to pump the Azuri to 5 in response. So this does basically make our opponent have to pitch their entire hand to Conflagrate our Azuri. If they go after our Vizier, we're not really concerned about that. It's not our game 1 plan anyway. do have access to... I'll only be able to cast one shaman at a time. The nice thing is the Azuri is also going to protect our Elvish Mystic. So I think here comes the Conflagrate. It's going to kill the Vizier, but none of our Elves. We're unfortunately going to probably have to just play this kind of cat and mouse game. I don't think we can cast... Well, I guess so long as they don't have another... And they don't. So I was going to say, so long as they don't have another Conflagrate. They're not putting much pressure on us to this point. So we could attack for 5 with Azuri, but I think at this point it's almost better to just hold a Regeneration and then Shaman. I certainly can attack with the Azuri. I feel like we're in a pretty strong position. The opponent had Life from the Loam back, a Copperlion Gorge, and a Bloodstained Mire, and didn't play a land. So two of their 3 cards are just lands. They really can't put much onto the battlefield that's going to be able to block us. So they did hit a Conflagrate. It's pretty big. We can make sure 2 of our creatures regen. Just not Azuri. You can't regen Azuri directly. The opponent's going to have to Conflagrate for at least 2 to get the Azuri. Still think it was the right call there to do what we did. That's fine. So the opponent's just going to lose here. 5, 4. We're only going to get him down to 1. Suppose if we draw a 1 CMC elf here, we can actually lethal them out. Land won't do it. Though it does allow us to redraw off Horizon Canopy. That might do it. So I want to fire this Collected Company off, but I don't think it's the right play. If the opponent plays a land next turn, they're going to Life from the Loam, play a land. They're going to get 2 blood gas back and attack for 6. I just feel like they're very, very unlikely to be able to beat us. I think it's smarter to just play the Shaman. We're still the mana shy of Collected Company, but that's fine. I think our opponent has almost no way of getting another Conflagrate that would really present any real damage. Even if they hit another Conflagrate here, they're not going to have any cards to really do any damage to us. I think we've effectively just locked them out with this play. So they did hit a Narcomoeba, but that doesn't even bring anything back. So they can dredge their blood gas back, but the blood gas can't block. Or dredge a land, which allows them to get the blood gas on the battlefield. They can attack for 6, but again, they only have 2 lands. There's nothing else they can... I suppose they could... Not Collected Brutality, Haunted Dead. Discard 2 cards, return Haunted Dead from the graveyard to the battlefield tapped. But they don't have any black mana to initiate that, so yeah, there's nothing they can do here. Yep. Alright, so start out 1-0 here. We want the Kitchen Finks. I think we want the Chameleon Colossus because of what is the card called? Whatever their 3/3 blocker is, won't be able to block that. I think we actually want to probably try and go Vizier and Genesis Wave. Do we want to do all that? We can set up the combo. We can just quickly win through them. Their sorcery speed, which makes it easy to win with either of these approaches. I do think Heritage Druid becomes weaker. Kitchen Finks buys us some time. Actually, I don't know that Kitchen Finks is all that great if we're going to try and go for the combo. So I think, per usual, and this seems so bizarre to me, but pulling Collected Company does really feel appropriate. It legitimately feels appropriate. I think Azuri is much stronger than Shaman here, so I think we can actually cut one of the Shaman, and we'll still have enough Elves. To win if we Genesis Waved even with just one. We have 32 creatures. I feel like I'm counting those creatures and I don't see 32 creatures. So this hand doesn't really have a whole lot going on. We are on the draw. We do get to ramp into something. We can get that Azuri down early, which potentially offers us some value. I really hate keeping 4-land hands with Elves. But Azuri is such an all-star. I think we just may have to do it. Especially on the draw. Thing is it's not that keeping 4 lands is necessarily the worst thing ever. It's just I have this really bad habit of when I have 4 lands, continuing to draw lands. Alright, so they're going to get Neonate. So despite having 5 cards, if they have a good mix, they could get this kick started. So I asked one of my buddies tonight what the over-under was on how many Genesis waves I'm going to cast, and I guessed 3, or put 3 as the over, or as the number, and he said over. And so far we haven't gotten to cast it once. Our only real chance at casting it was that mulligan to 3 against Storm. So the opponent's going to get a Bloodghast. I have a Dredge. So they're actually looking to be set up alright. Okay, so Vizier, we're starting to get a little something going on. What we really would prefer to Vizier, though, is seeing a Devoted Druid there. As we had mentioned previously, or in our turn 3 win against Tron, Devoted Druid allows you to go chord for the Vizier. Maybe it wasn't against Tron that we did that. And the prized amalgam, alright. And they got a Conflagrate. So I wouldn't be terribly surprised to see them just pop the Conflagrate here and then hope to overrun us. If they do, there's some chance. Well, I guess that makes sense. If they have Life from the Loam, no reason to pop Conflagrate until you have more cards in hand. So we're just going to have to be real careful here. I'm actually just going to play this out sideways. We'll see if we can maybe get him to fire off this Conflagrate. I mean, we would prefer them to not fire it off, but you can only do so much. Plus, if we can get them to hold off, we could chord at their end step and to Devoted Druid. If they don't fire off the Conflagrate this turn, we're actually in a really strong position, as we can chord for Devoted Druid in response to a Conflagrate the following turn. Then cast Vizier on our turn, and then infinite mana Azuri. We just gotta kind of hope they're gonna get a little greedy and say, Doesn't look like they're getting greedy. Looks like they're just going to conflagrate here. That little delay pretty much guarantees it. Yep. So now they have us on a 3-turn clock. So, I guess it's not 3-turn. 2, 4, technically 4 if they don't hit anything off their next thug. So we're in a similar boat where next turn, I guess we just really need them to not get lethal. If they're not set up to do lethal on the following turn, we're still in position where we can chord for the Devoted Druid, cast Vizier, and then just combo out with Azuri. So I am feeling a little disappointed that I didn't put a single Scavenging Ooze in the deck. Was a card I was considering. So our opponent gonna hard cast a Conflagrate. Oh gosh. I don't actually want to reveal my hand to my opponent because I don't want to give them any information. What they just did, let me think this through. And they're absolutely taking the chord. I think I'm just going to concede. I just would prefer to hide the information. There's really no way for me to come back in this game. Of course, in my mind, I'm like, did I actually play? Actually, I'm pretty sure I played the Vizier in the first game, so it's not like I'm hiding anything. So I don't feel like we did anything wrong. I feel like our game plan or deck layout here is still appropriate. Again, I kind of would like to get another Collected Company back in there, but I still need to kind of figure out the sideboarding for this. Suppose it's okay to cut a Nettle Sentinel for another Collected Company. Nettle Sentinel's not doing much on its own. It's not generating any mana. So we're going to be on the play here. Oh, I didn't even think about this. Chameleon Colossus is also a beneficiary of infinite mana. As is, though, I don't know. Suppose if we go turn 1 Llanowar Elves, that's almost certainly going to live. Worst case, if we don't hit a land, we've got turn 2 Druid. It gives us 2 shots to draw a land. We're not super high odds to hit a white source, but that still gives us the ability to potentially get out Elvish Archdruid turn 3. I think this is actually worth the risk. There's pretty high upside here. Again, Chameleon Colossus, if we can hardcast it and protect it, there's very few creatures the opponent has that can even block it. And that could just be a lethal attacker. Sounds like I'm losing my voice. Insolent Neonate. Gonna kickstart a Dredge with the Stinkweed Imp. So they have an Amalgam in there, but they're not triggering anything until next turn. Okay, so we're getting there. So if we play with the Archdruid, the next turn we could play Devoted Druid, tap for 4 and get the Colossus out. Well, we're not really in position to win with the Devoted Druid the next turn. Do they have a Dredger? Life from the Loam. So I think we're just gonna run the Archdruid out here. Didn't hit anything yet. That's good. So land's gonna get their Blood Gas. That'll trigger the Amalgam back to the battlefield at end step. They could get the Haunted Dead out as well if they wanted. Be a good way to discard a Conflagrate if they had one in hand. So we're looking okay so far. Pitch the Insolent Neonate, get another Stinkweed Dredge, kind of another whiff. We're actually looking okay so far. And now we hit the Windswept Heath. So I like this because it allows us to play out the Devoted Druid, tap for 3/4, get the Chameleon Colossus out, and attack for 2. It'd be very hard for my opponent, I believe, to think that there's anything more threatening on the table than the Chameleon Colossus or the Archdruid, and if they don't have the ability to get the Chameleon Colossus, I would expect them to go for the Archdruid. So the Archdruid's going to be able to generate 4 mana towards pumping the Chameleon Colossus, which just means we're really likely to be able to get Vizier and infinite mana. Which should allow us to lethal with the Chameleon Colossus, potentially. Alright, so here they go. And they already played their land for the turn, so they're not going to be able to conflagrate us this turn. They do have 2 creatures. Okay, 1 creature. If we had any way to handle the spirit. How about a Genesis Wave? Let's get to see what a Genesis Wave would do. Oh, that works. And there we go. So this makes me really start wanting to play more Horizon Canopies in the deck, because with the infinite mana you can just cycle through towards an answer. That's pretty awesome. So I'm already starting to learn a bit here. So once we get to 8, we'll pop the Azuri, and then we'll see if our opponent catches the drift of what's going on. Each 5 will pop it till we get big enough. We gotta get over 4 toughness. So we've got 11, 18, 26 plus 8. Yeah, so we're good here. We may have had lethal before, but that's the part is, even if they had some sort of trick where they wanted to get you in combat, you can just untap and start tapping again. So, alright, we'll get another turn 4 win there. Kind of turn this thing around a little bit. Hopefully we'll be able to finish strong and at least get a 3-2, get our money back, if you will. We'll be back for the final match shortly.